listening to the Platinum Standard in Paranormal Talk, Paratopia, with Jeff Ritzmann and Jeremy Vaney.
Jeff Ritzmann.
Jeremy Vaney.
It is time for another Paratopia Oculus.
That's right, and here we are.
Heeding the call. The call of the fans, the call of ourselves, heck, probably the call of Mother Earth herself.
Well, I don't know about all that, but certainly the fans.
Although you had to shut your fan off, and so you're probably sweltering right now.
Yes, it's quite warm.
I hope people
in the studio
that.
tonight. Yeah, the studio is quite warm tonight, Jeremy.
Yes. Well, before we begin, let's just give a somber, I don't know, dove cry for our pal Prince, who has left the building.
Yeah, God, it sucks.
Ugh. So is that all of them? I mean, is that every? I mean, I guess there's Paul McCartney left, right? There's still the Rolling Stones.
Well, the Rolling Stones, I think, have been dead for about the past 20 years. I mean, really. Yeah, I mean, really, I guess so. I mean, it's a shame to say it, but it seems like we're getting to that age where life takes more things away than it gives. So,
well, I mean, really,
I don't know how to make that sound good.
What Prince is, he was like Michael Jackson, like any of the good old time acts. He was a total package showman, and I feel like that total package showman who is actually writes their own songs and is good at what they do, that might be extinct now. I'm not sure. Can't think of anyone off the top of my head. He might have been the last one.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're probably right on that front. Well, and who's actually good? I mean, I could say Alice Cooper is quite a showman, but I don't know that I'd call him very good at what he does. Sorry, Alice. I mean, I love you and all, but you're not the best singer in the world, and you don't really dance. But certainly a show, certainly an icon, no question about it. But yeah, I think that is really it, and it's kind of like I told the wife this weekend past that. Damn it just seems like the ones that are head and shoulders above everybody else as far as integrity to what they do, those are the ones that just go. They just it's like the lady said in The Matrix, such a thing is not meant to last. And so there we are. And this was just so damn shocking, though. I mean,
as I'm fond of pointing out, this isn't heaven. So where are we?
Right. Yeah.
If we all agree that we're not in heaven right now, then we're in something less than heaven. So it makes sense that the people who achieve near perfection in their craft go the way of the dodo bird. They've got better places to be.
But this was just such really shocking. I mean, I was a little shocked last week, or was it last week, I think, when he was taken to the hospital off the plane a mere 38 minutes from home. That seemed very, very strange. And I thought, well, they don't do that unless you're incredibly sick. And, and the rumor is, and it's only a rumor, I think, at this point, as of this taping, that it was probably an overdose of Percocet from having bad hips. I don't know. I mean, you just, you wouldn't think such a thing of him, especially after he watched Michael go the way he did. You wouldn't think that he would do the same thing, which I think is what you had brought up on the phone the other night. It's inconceivable to me,
It's a real. I mean, the other option,
blast in the face.
If we want to put the strangeness spin on it, something else we talked about privately is the fact that he fulfilled his at least career-long, if not lifelong, sort of mission, which was to get the rights to all of his music back from Warner, and signed a deal with Warner Music. And pretty much the second he does that, he's done.
Yeah.
And it's like Michael Jackson. It's kind of the same thing. He sells out the O2 Arena well in advance of his show, proving he can do the big comeback.
Right.
And he never makes it to the comeback. in wrestling, because I know everyone out there, including Jeff, is a huge pro wrestling fan.
No, sorry.
We might have even talked about this, probably, just because it was so strange that the Ultimate Warrior, this guy, had a falling out with the WWE ages ago. And I mean, it was bitter animosity. They did a DVD destroying his legacy, all this sort of stuff. And they reconciled. And he was put in the Hall of Fame and given a Hall of Famer contract to go out there and do good works in the world. And the next day on Monday Night Raw, he gave a big thank you speech, and and it was basically saying, we only get one chance in this life, and we, don't live forever. It was almost his own eulogy he was writing, and then he died on the way home. And
wow.
I mean, he had just fulfilled his big dream, and it's almost like you fulfill the big thing, or you let go that hatred, that anger, that animosity that you've had for so many years. And I think something leaves with it, There's a piece of you that goes with it, and mission over. I just get that.
Well,
feeling.
I must, at this point, tell everyone that I will be keeping up my hatred of everything in this field. I will never make peace with it.
Well, perhaps we should, maybe that's a segue then to start in to some gripes you've been feeling about the field lately.
Well, let me just throw this in here. If you want to talk about a real weird aspect of the Prince story, which was on April 16th, I think, or 15th, a couple days after my birthday, he gave a show after he was out of the hospital from the emergency plane landing. And he said, I'm feeling better. That's why he gave the show, was to show everybody I'm okay, this, that, and the other. And one of the things he mentioned at this show during that conversation was, save your prayers for a few days. And a few days later, he was dead. So, this always bears out the question, do these people know it's coming? There's a lot of very strange things around the timing and little things that were said before his death that almost speak to either wild coincidence, which we know doesn't really exist, or that he knew that something was coming, which is even stranger.
Well, and then the other thing, which
I don't know.
Let's not forget, you told me, I didn't realize this, he died in an elevator. He was found in an elevator.
Correct.
Which is, from Let's Go Crazy. If the elevator tries to get you down, go crazy, punch a higher floor. And it was a metaphor for the devil, because he wasn't allowed to say devil and, God on the radio. So instead of devil, he said the elevator.
Right.
So there's that.
Very strange. Very strange.
Poetic death all the way around.
It really is. I mean, but I will just throw this out there that I saw his sister again today or yesterday on the YouTube on TMZ or something else. Which TMZ I normally don't even go on that site, but I've been hungry for anything to tell us more about what the hell happened. And again, his sister is pulling out, I think, with his ashes, or on their way out from Paisley Park, and she doesn't look upset at all. I mean, she doesn't even look like she's been crying to me. She seems very, very even keeled. So that also makes me wonder: did they know something was coming? Was this something that had been coming for a while? Was everybody used to the idea? But certainly Stevie Wonder, who was on television this morning, and Sheila E., who was on over the weekend, they were not okay at all. Stevie Wonder pretty much fell apart on Anderson Cooper that I saw today. So,
on the note of the sister, I did read an article. I was going to say do a little research on her, but come on, I read an article. Essentially, she was a crack whore.
Right.
And Prince got her off that, and selling her body and her, abusing her kids and just all this horrible stuff. And he picked her up and dusted her off, got her into rehab and all of that, and they had sort of reunited. And so I wonder if some of that not crying is, I think when you do those kinds of hardcore drugs and live that hardcore lifestyle, it deadens you inside.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, that could be it. It's so incredibly shocking. I guess you're just looking for anything that makes it make sense, and maybe there is no sense to be made of it. So, but yeah, condolences all around for that.
All right, moving on.
Yes, something more pleasant. Jesus, all the long face. I could see the long faces through the microphone. Cheer up, people. There is an archive full of music, by the way.
Yes.
Yes, and I watched a Kevin Smith lecture today where he said that basically there are hundreds of professional shot, production valued videos for songs that you've never heard or seen. So I have a feeling Prince is going to be with us probably for the rest of our lives at least.
Well, he's got a whole album with Miles Davis that he never released.
Right. Yeah.
Miles Davis? I mean, like, what was he holding on to these things for? And they say it's because he's a perfectionist, yada, yada. But I wonder if he didn't want to have a back catalog when he dies of amazing music. I
mean, you look at how much he idolized Jimi Hendrix. And Jimmy is one of those people that, since he's been gone, I mean, I think at this point he's released more albums after death than prior. And I think somebody like Prince looked at that and go, not me. After I'm gone, I want stuff coming out, for ad nauseum. But there are supposedly thousands of completed albums and songs. The videos are in the hundreds for songs that, I mean, Kevin Smith went and shot 4 days with him for the release of one album. I can't remember what it was, to get the fans' reaction to the album. It's like a documentary. And it's a great story about how it wasn't a particularly positive experience for Kevin Smith.
Yeah, no, it's a great story. Yeah.
It's a great story. And he basically says to Prince's longtime production person, are you guys cutting this? Am I cutting this and editing it together? And she said, no, it's already being done. He said, well, where will this air? Where will this be? And she said, well, you'll probably never see it. Apparently he did this all the time with different people and brought people in to shoot and make videos. And she said, yeah, money is spent. Sets were made, costumes were designed and fabricated. And yeah, there's whole videos like that you've never seen. I have a feeling we're going to start seeing some of that. But I think it will be doled out as Prince would want it doled out, like an album every year or couple years. I'm sure he's made provisions for what happens to that stuff. So there you go. So I have a feeling he'll be around for a very long time.
And with us on the Ouija board right now is Prince. Prince, welcome to Paratopia Oculus. Oh, no.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't really have that. Sorry. I'll say that for other shows out there. I'm sure there's got to be some dumb show that does that.
Can we edit that out?
No, we can't. Okay, moving on. That went over like gangbusters. You're welcome. So did you want to talk about what's going on in your life right now, or do you want to talk about what's going on in the paranormal world at large that's itching your scalp?
You know what really grinds my gears, Jeremy? No, I don't want to belabor this whole thing too awful much, but I should mention that in Gettysburg on Saturday, a new store was opened called the Ghost Hunting Store. And I don't know what they're selling there, but probably all matter of overactive meters and highly sensitive temperature gauges and God knows what else. It's probably a place that sells accoutrements such as that. And quite a few people that I know, or I know of, I shouldn't say I know, I don't know them, were in attendance for that. And I think I think that's an inherently bad idea to open a place like that in Gettysburg of all places.
Isn't it too late? Like, hasn't that rush of?
I think it's, and this is to the point a little bit, is that there is, or has been erupting for quite some time now, this kind of subculture, that is, in my opinion, has surpassed the UFO community or the interested UFO public as far as numbers and passion for what they're doing. But I think that it's sadly its blueprint, if you want to call it that, its blueprint, its genesis of being has kind of, I don't know, maybe was sparked slightly by Ghost Hunters, the original Ghost Hunters, and then later took its stylings and attitude from Ghost Adventures, which is, as you know, hosted by Zach Bagans and two other guys who really don't deserve the ire that Bagans should get. But it's become du jour in the ghost hunting community. I mean, in all seriousness, I've seen advertisements for we're going to be at this place signing autographs, and it's like, do you have a show? No, we're on YouTube. And I there's a couple of ladies that I'm friends with on Facebook who seem nice enough people, but clearly are almost begging for that made-for-TV slot. In other words, they all seem to be bucking for that. And the minute that you try to engage with these people on any kind of level playing field debate, you realize that there is no level playing field because they're not even in the same headspace. Everything for them is basically Ghost Hunters. It's basically go in, take readings, see if you can get flashlights to turn on and off, see if you can get answers to yes or no questions, or get a ghost, quote unquote, to affect a millimeter or a temperature gauge or something that doesn't prove anything. What's worse is some of the, I guess, more intelligent people in this are writing apps for phones, to essentially start like ovuluses and things like that, which are glorified Frank's boxes with endless echo loops and static feeds and all that sort of thing. Thinking that these things are legitimate tools to research paranormal events with. And I think if you listen to this program long enough, you realize that they aren't, that you get more solid results from double-blind, random number generators being used in the field than you would any of these toys. But I think what is, again, as disturbing as the UFO field with its hypnosis and its damage of people and the way it kind of sucks in and calls forth to the lowest common denominator, I think once again the paranormal proves itself to be kind of like this barometer for bigger things. And sadly, we're starting to see this big turn from Hans Holzer and other, really hardcore students of the paranormal. I won't call them experts because nobody's really that, but people like Hans Holzer who really tend to push the envelope forward, to really question things, to really try and get some kind of scientifically verifiable data. Barry Taff is another one who's done pro work. George Hansen has done pro work at Rhine Institute. People like that are becoming unknown, or are largely unknown, to the current crop of ghost hunters that are out there, because they are grossly unaware of prior paranormal work that's been done as much as 100 years ago. They think they're cracking new territory. And here's the sad part, and here's the reason I wanted to bring this up, is that, again, it's perfect and it's aggravating at the same time. It's aggravating in the sense that you look at this and you say, well, here's yet another field that's going to be polluted by people who are in this for wholly different reasons than searching out legitimate paranormal phenomena. If they were serious about that, they would want reproducible data. They would want real hard numbers. They would want something that they can say, here, so-and-so, this is what we found, double-blind test, no knowledge of the location. They went in, they picked it out without knowing anything. They observed this, they recorded this random number generator sequence on the steps, et cetera, and so on. These people are going out with essentially phone app toys and really hypersensitive thermometers and electrical meters getting false positives. It's not really about that. You can tell, as sure as I'm sitting here, you can tell that their main focus is to be seen, is to possibly gain a large following of quote unquote fans, to either buy them things, essentially. I mean, I hate to put it that way so bluntly, but in fact, some of these people, you watch their Facebook page and they say, oh, I really love this, or I really like that, or I want this, and inevitably, I think fans, especially if these are females asking for this and they're reasonably attractive, they get it. So you're seeing the field collapse on its own weight of just garbage. Not unlike the UFO field has done, and we've known this for some time. So now the ghost field is finally buckling under that kind of false. I don't know what you call it. Some kind of false inspiration of what it means to be in this field, and so they're redefining the field as it sits. They're redefining who gets involved, why they get involved, and also
does the phenomena change with accordingly?
And there you are. And this is the other point to make is that, when you look at these people, you immediately recognize that they are extremely marginal people, that most of them, I mean, as far as the people I've been, and I'm not naming names by any stretch, but the people that I've focused at and looked at and tried to learn a little bit about, you find out most of them are unemployed. They're hanging on by the skin of their teeth, or they're living with their parents or grandparents. It's really confounding how they present themselves in public as a front runner in the field, and yet they have little to nothing as far as money. They have, I think the personalities are very much, at least in the 8 or 10 that I've observed for now close to a year or more, really thrive on drama, to the point where at least a few of them will post things on Facebook like, I'm done, or goodbye, or and then just let people comment, oh, what's wrong? What's going on? It's kind of like that plead for attention when they don't feel they're getting enough. And so, yes, I think it's entirely plausible that these people may experience something paranormal, in quotes. I put that in quotes because I don't think that they're actually recording or documenting those instances. I think these are instances that happen and either aren't noticed in totality for as important as they are, or they're purely subjective experiences, but yet they're nonetheless still real and viable experiences, because these people are extraordinarily marginal. I mean, even more so than some of the people in the UFO field that I've seen, and we've all talked about at one time or another.
More than you and me?
Yeah, far and away more than you and I. So, I just want people to kind of take a look, take a look at some of the people that kind of put themselves out there, hardcore in the ghost avenue of things. Not so much Jason Hawes or Grant or any of those people. I'm talking lower level people. These are the folks that see John Zaffis as a really big deal, and.
Well, let's take the phenomena's point of view for a moment here. If it's true that there's a phenomenon or phenomena that need us to perceive it to be here in some way,
right?
And the fields are filling up with nitwits who think that everything they look at through night vision is a UFO, and everything that reads heat on a meter is a ghost, then there's no point in even showing up. Right? Like you can show up or not show up, and they're still going to see quote unquote ghosts and aliens.
Right.
Does that throw off the game of the paranormal? Does the paranormal have to change in response to the stupidity of the observer?
Well, I think it's the I don't think it's so much that it doesn't have to show up. I think there are genuine opportunities that these people get, just as we've had genuine opportunities over the years to go to X conference, right? Like, we weren't particularly enamored with the X conference. The first year we went, we gave it terrible reviews. I mean, we basically, and more times through the months rising up to the next X conference, I mean, we railed on Steve Bassett, and yet he still gave us tickets, didn't he? I mean, so, being, quote unquote press in this paranormal thing, it's, if they're talking about me, they're talking about me. And so you kind of are able to get into places. You and I both receive copious amounts of books that people out there would love to have. And I probably don't even read. There is that in that these people are getting that you or I, being largely unknown in the ghost area, we would not be able to call up, say, Pennhurst and say, can we come in this weekend? I think they're afforded entrance to areas that most of the public wouldn't be able to get because they are very vocal about their evidence. They're vocal about collecting it. They record everything like it's a TV show. They put it on YouTube. It builds, some kind of recognition, more recognition for the place. Because these places now, like Pennhurst and others, are and I don't know about Pennhurst in particular, but a lot of these notoriously haunted locations are charging people to come in now to do ghost hunts and all of that sort of thing. It's become a cottage industry, much like UFOs have become. And I don't know that it hasn't always been that way to a certain degree, but nowadays it's really, I mean, if you can find yourself an old Victorian manor, you got cottage industry. So they're getting into these places, but the problem is that what they're using as far as tools and techniques and what have you, are so ambiguous that anything that they get is everything and nothing at the same time. It's just completely ambiguous data that doesn't serve, and it doesn't exactly, it can entice people in, but then it can turn them off after they find out, it's not really as solid as I thought. But that's how this whole thing has always worked. It's everything and nothing at the same time. It says it all and gives you nothing. So how much harm they're doing, I don't know. It's just kind of like...
Well, I'm wondering if it presses the phenomena to make its voice stand out amongst the static and noise of the observer. Again, it's like if the observer is just going to see everything in nothing, then if you're... if you need to stand out for people to latch onto it and go, oh, well, that's real, then what do you need to do at that point? Do you change your game? And if not, then what does that tell us? I mean, if, about our thinking that needs us to perceive it to be here, maybe not. Maybe there is some phenomenon called ghosts that just, is this weird, wacky recording that you can kind of interact with, but just keeps popping up again and again. These stupid soldiers.
Right.
Just saying random stuff to people.
Right.
I mean, does that need to change at all?
Who knows?
If it needs us?
Who knows? Because frankly, to really know that, to really kind of pin that down in the best way that we would be able to do that, would be able. You would have essentially to review all of these people's data that they collect, and trust me on this, you don't want to do it. You just don't want to do it because it is painful to watch. It really is. It's painful to watch what they consider really good evidence. It's painful to watch them collect the data that they think they're getting. So I don't know that the phenomena would react to that as much as it would react to these are extremely marginal people. I could probably get away with a lot. And who's going to believe them? Sometimes I really do believe it's that literal. That, who's going to believe these people? Yeah, I'll do whatever I want. But I'm going to make the, whatever they get completely ambiguous and open-ended. But I don't think it has to be that. I don't think it has to be that ambiguous. I think the tools that they're using to collect are so open-ended and so given to chance that it's almost instant ghost, if that makes any sense. So I don't know. It just will be interesting to see how their end of things kind of unfolds and who drops away and who like finally gets their life together and, gets a real job. I just will be very curious to see.
I never thought this before, but all right, let's throw this out there. Could it be that the reason this sort of coalesces around phenomena, the crazy people versus actual researchers, has more to do with the fact that this is not an objective scientific phenomenon, and so it can't sustain that. The phenomenon itself, not only are we using the wrong tools, we're using the wrong language to describe it. We're trying to create this outside thing that is also part subjective, and so after enough years of doing the wrong thing, does it create the wrong mindset that gets involved in it in the first place? And just sort of drive the point home, I was reading a passage from The Supernatural by Whitley Strieber and Jeffrey Kripal. This is on page 273. This is a guy named Stewart has experience, who was, I guess, a student of Jeffrey Kripal's. And he was a materialist and believed, all the religious stuff is in the brain and we can figure this all out. And then he had this experience of these orbs, of watching these orbs and just intuiting that they were alive and that they were aware and yada, yada. And then his roommate comes into the room and says, hey, you ready to go? And, they disappear. So the roommate doesn't see them. He sees them. He knows that, it's this completely subjective experience. And yet then he finds out after the fact that there are reports of this type in this area. Like it's a sort of orb area. So all sorts of people are having this subjective experience objectively. And so this is what he says that I think sums it up. Says, these, after all, were not simple objects that could have been seen by another witness, like an animal emerging from a cave at a zoo, he explains. Rather, as he put it, quote, they weren't really seen, heard, or smelled. They appeared to me, but also somehow in me. So that's the quote. And, that's what we've been talking about for years. But I just feel like that really sums it up concisely. They appear to me, but also somehow they're in me. And so the objective language that we use to try to make things completely rational, completely out there and observable, this is not a completely observable phenomena. It is something that you can only observe in saying that all of these people are having the subjective experience of these things, either alone or with a select few witnesses, let's say. But it's not as objective as math is objective.
Right.
So if we've got a phenomena that is somehow in us, but is also out there, it is subjective and objective. It's yes and it's improvisation, really. Then if we just, like I said, if we're only tackling it from the one end, the objective end, that's the material, that's the superficial. Now along come the superficial people. So, doesn't it just follow
like attracts
that
like? Yes,
happen? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you're dancing all around the notion with exactly what you're saying is that it's everything and nothing. It's objective and subjective. It's inner, it's outer, so it's deep. Like it is the thing out there that you can look at and go and have like some airy opinion about or try to study, but it's also within us, and so there's the depth that we know that we've got. It's also in there with that. And so how do you get at that? Yeah. In other words, it's between everything. This is really what it comes down to. And this we've also been saying for years is that everything is going in between somewhere or another. You can find that consistency throughout this stuff. you know, and I believe like attracts like. So when you're talking about, you know, places with paranormal activity, these things are all inherently in a marginal place in society, and so they attract the marginal of society. Like attracts like, and yeah, I do believe that these superficial people get involved in this. And I had said to you, you know. It's a really interesting, at least from the social aspect of it, that fascinates me. And I always use this analogy of cosplay. Like cosplay has got to be a huge thing. You know, back when I did it, good Lord, 10 or more years ago, this was something
Minutes
only
ago.
the inherently goofy people got involved with, and I knew it, and I could care less. I had a great time doing it. I wouldn't change a bit of it. But when it got to be the thing to do, this is when you notice this interesting dynamic is that's when the beautiful people enter the scene. And now cosplay girls are like a big deal. One girl, her name's Riddle. She's an amazing cosplayer. She's been in it for a very long time. She is stunning. And she just got interviewed in Playboy. I mean, this is becoming the thing that, and I don't use her as an example of latecomer, but there are certainly a lot of people out there, a lot of girls out there in particular, and guys, who are absolutely model material, male and female, that all of a sudden, they're huge cosplay people now. Really, when did that happen? When it became mainstream, when it became the thing to be. The same holds true for the ghost hunting thing. When you've got Zach Baggins and his muscles and his douchebag T-shirts and all of that taking over the scene on Friday and Sunday nights, all of a sudden that's what becomes attracted to this field because, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And he's got a show, I can get a show. I mean, socially, I believe that's really where it comes down to is that this is a place, and I think for the cosplay thing too, it comes down to not every girl who's gorgeous can be a model. And modeling is an inherently brutal job that they look you up and down and pick out the tiniest little things to reject you for. There's a lot of people who may have done modeling and then just fell out of favor with the modeling community. This is what they then do to make money. These girls and guys, some of them travel all over the world doing cosplay and signing autographs. I don't understand that, but hey, it happens. And the same is going on in, sadly, the ghost community. The gorgeous people have entered the field, and now it's become all about a personality game. They're signing autographs. I mean, one of my Facebook friends, she's a really pretty girl, but her and her quote unquote team, this is what I've seen them do the most of, is pose for pictures and sitting at a table at some horror convention signing photographs. I mean, I'm just like, what have you been on? What are you doing that is warranting this kind of almost like self-adulation? I don't know where that comes from.
Well, what's interesting about all this to me, as you're saying it, is like back in ye olden days, if you were to take this stuff seriously, you would end up doing magic.
Yeah.
You'd end up in the occult. You'd end up, or maybe in the lesser but still ye olden days, you would end up in a secret society, a fraternity of scientists who secretly study this stuff, or Gnostics and mystics and of the various religious persuasions. You would end up in this secretive group, and you would be gaining knowledge, and you would be, living cosplay in a way, trying to come up with ways to do battle with or conjure, go on down the list. And now what you're talking about really is an openness and an equality. There's no longer a hidden higher. There's not a hierarchy. It's a flat playing field. Everyone wants to be famous. Everyone's out there. Everyone's got the same the same opportunity to do this, to be the magician or whatever, but without doing the magic. But it's so superficial that they're not actually doing anything. They're not engaging anything. They're
Correct.
Only being famous. So it's this weird thing, and maybe it's maybe this is the jumping off point. I don't know. Here's the optimist in me. Maybe it's the jumping off point. You know, you're born in the superficial starts first, and that's the base, and then from there builds the hierarchy of depth out of that new sense of equality, equal footing, I guess. No longer are there secrets. See, this is the whole problem with, like, we always want no secrets. We want to know what that secret knowledge is. And now that so much of it is all out there, from, you know, Tibet to Aleister Crowley, everyone claims to have all the same knowledge,
right.
Which they do, but they don't. This is the problem I have with.
But they're not getting at anything.
This is the problem I have with everyone online that I interact with, is they don't understand the depth that goes beyond the words and beyond even the history that they're studying.
It's all surface level. Yes.
It's all surface level, but they don't know it. And
exactly. They think it's the total package.
They think it's the total package, and therefore you're the snob when you say you're not getting something here.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, I mean, that was purely my my whole interaction previously with a friend of one of these. Well, one of these girls had posted something, and I think I talked about it on a previous show where, you know, it was another app for, you know, basically recording EVPs and doing ITC stuff and all of that. And I mean, it was an Echo box. It was an Echo box with a recorder, maybe a couple of frequency settings that you could toy around with. That was basically it. And it would throw out random words based on the sensitivities of the temperature or the wind movement in the room, excuse me, or what have you. It didn't matter, because it's all random stuff that it's supposed to be throwing out. But it can't be that random if there is a vocabulary that has to be inserted into this thing to make it work, right? So there is a vocabulary palette that it's going from, and I guarantee you it's not the Webster's Dictionary. So you've got that. And I made the honest question or inquiry into the thread, and I said, any double blinds been done on this? And I was told that's a stupid question. I mean, I've got this whole thing documented. I saved every screen grab. You know, everything from that's a dumb question to, well, go to the YouTube channel for this. You'll see plenty of double blinds. No, I saw reviews, not double blinds. And reviews don't work if there's morons reviewing. So, you know, it's an effort in futility to try to tell these people or try to have an interaction with these people on any level besides, like you're saying, that surface level of, I got a voice on a tape recorder that responded to me in kind for a question that I asked. The double blind, in the end, they didn't even know what it meant. I had to explain to them what that meant. Well, that's a dumb way to do things. Well, no, that's actually how you verify something. And in this marginal area, this is where you really have to look at the big brain on Brad. That was the kind of thing I got. And I thought, oh my God, we're in idiocracy. I'm in that place right now, right here, because they were one step away from, you talk like a fag. I'm not kidding. That was how crazy that conversation got. And I just kind of like imagine myself like that cartoon that walks into the bad, you know, place in the comic strip, and you got to back away real quietly and close the door. I was horrified by the interaction with these people. And these are supposed to be top-notch investigators. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. You sound like a social club to me. That's what it sounds like, is it's a social club. And that's what it also looks like as well. So in the end, it's like, you know, I learned better than to kind of inject any kind of critique into what they're doing, because they know what they're doing, and you can't talk to these people. I mean, you really, really can't. And, you know, I typed out a big long thing that kind of explained double blind and how it worked. And I got maybe like 2 people who friended me on Facebook, and we've since had pretty productive discussions on what they do over, oddly enough, in the UK is where you'll find the more serious folks involved in ghost studies and the sort. So, yeah, you know, over there it seems to be a completely different bag. It's basically just here in the States where, you know, we vote for Donald Trump.
Paranormal in and of itself.
Right.
So But again, even if they're taking it seriously, can they get at it with a language that doesn't include the subjective and the objective as sort of equal, on an equal footing? Because once again, I'm reminded by Teokas and Ghost Horse of that the Lakota language, they don't really do that, right? Like everything is sort of a smorgasbord. It's inclusive, subjective, objective, metaphorical, literal. It's sort of all inclusive. Do we need a language like that to get at this, or do you think we can really get at this with any substance with the language that we've got? Because the language produces the tools, even.
I think, I mean, I don't know that we're ever going to get like some kind of, definitive definition of what we're talking about. I mean, I think you can definitely document things more solidly than using, toys for tools. And trying to investigate fairy tales. I think you can do a lot better job with numerical driven devices that can give you consistencies and give you non-random answers for a location where it's tracked. Where is paranormal phenomena associated with in the house? Well, room 1 and 2, 3 and 4, nothing really happens in those places. So you take your team, you give them a double blind, you say, you don't know where anything is, just go in the house, go to every room. Tell me where your random number generators give you the most non-random hits. And if that coincides to the weird place, then that's one try. Then you do it again with your second tier team and do it exactly the same way, not disclosing anything until you're well said and done and clear the location. I mean, that in and of itself would be not anything that would be, well, that must mean ghost. But it certainly is a decent starting point, and it's not deluding yourself with toys to achieve a false positive and then a false sense of celebrity from that. That's really what it boils down to me. So, yeah, I think we can get to it, but I don't think you're going to get any kind of definitive definition of what is it? Where does it come from? I mean, I think we're so in its infancy with this stuff. Despite the fact that the paranormal's been around and being investigated for over 100 years, there's still a lot we don't know. And a lot of what's being done today in the ghost field is either nonsense or stuff that's been going on and has been already achieved for decades. So there's nothing new under the sun, but yet these people tout this as progress. And one of the things that I've always said about ghost hunters, I mean, how long has that been on television now? They just celebrated 10 years not long ago. And how many investigations have we rode along behind the television set for? I mean, and what do they get? They get pretty much the same thing. A voice here, a bump there, an odd knock here or there in response to questions, a flashlight turning on and off. And I've always said, it's very entertaining. It's very interesting at some points. It is. What's the next step? What now? We get it. Okay, you get these things in these locations. What now? And these people don't seem to be concerned with what now. They seem to be concerned with how much more of this can I accumulate than the next team down the road? How much more sensational can my story and how much more sensational can my quote unquote evidence be to gain me more attention from maybe a mainstream outlet like the Daily Mail or whatever, something more on the lines of internet celebrity, if you want to put it that way.
Well, I would like to know what, a lot of these people's attitude is at the outset. I mean, is their attitude that they want or expect to get anything definitive, or is that scary? Kind of in the way that NASA, sort of talks about life out there as a theory. Mm-hmm. But whenever you say, well, what about this, that, and the other? Oh, well, that's nonsense. Is it the same way? Like, who is it? Josh? Is it Josh Gates? Is that his name? Who does? Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see he's got another show, which I'm sure everyone's way ahead of me on because I just watch Netflix. But so he's off to doing adventures. Now I'm searching for the Holy Grail and I'm searching for ancient relics and things like that. Now he's an archaeologist all of a sudden.
Right.
I didn't realize that about him, but they actually, I think, said he's an archaeologist. Huh. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think he's got some background in that, yeah.
Did he ever expect to find Bigfoot? Did he ever expect to find any of the things that he set out for on show number 1, does he ever expect to really find any of the things in show number 2? Or is it all about, and would they admit it if they did? Because these shows all seem to be about that very NASA thing, which seems disingenuous to me, which is, look at us really trying to find this, but in the end, it's not real. So, good try, everybody. Isn't imagining things fun?
Right.
Now we've learned a little bit of history about China. Oh.
Right.
Well, that's not what I was in this for. I wanted to know about that hairy man that
right.
village keeps seeing, or that suicide forest, or whatever, you know?
Right. I mean, on his old show, Destination Truth, there were a couple of episodes, and I can think of 2 in particular. One was, as you mentioned, the Suicide Woods, where there was some very, very compelling, interesting visual data captured that I think was worthy of being studied further, if there was anything more to see. And certainly his experiences there were pretty profound in the sense that it was the only time I saw him genuinely become disturbed, where I didn't feel like it was an act. There was that, and there was also a place, I believe it was in Russia, and it wasn't the M Triangle, but it was something akin to that, where there was a clearing in a spot of woods where it was said that globes of light could come out and burn you, and that there were gnomes and this sort of thing, and there was a cameraman. They each took turns setting alone in this field, and the cameraman, I mean, it's on visual recording, night vision recording, where he's sitting there 1 minute, and the next minute you see a streak going up into the air like 8 feet, and that's him being thrown in the air. I mean, could it be faked? It could be, but the guy was genuinely freaked out, was scraped, was hurt, and something clearly happened to him. I think that was a very genuine fear that they all felt, because here's the point: they didn't hang around till morning. They left. And there were a couple people that experienced physical manifestations of something on their bodies that should not have been there. Very strange place. But we're talking about Josh Gates. This is a guy whose audition tape was him being able to sneak into Disney World. I mean, so do I think I don't even know that he had a genuine interest in the paranormal or the mysterious or Earth mysteries or anything. I don't even know that was the case. I mean, like I said, his audition tape, it's out there on YouTube, was being able to finagle his way into Disneyland in California without a ticket. And he did it, but it was kind of like this little reality TV thing. It got him the job, and he's still working. And kudos to him for still working. And I personally always thought his shows were interesting, but in the end, no, I don't think that he actively goes looking for an answer. But
do you think any of them do, or do you think that there's sort of a maybe an unspoken multi-network rule that you don't find anything? It's all about the search. Then that way everyone's happy. Your skeptic is happy. Your believer is happy, and the ratings stay the same.
I mean, my experience with TV people is that they want you to find the sensational. So, but with a long-running show like that, I mean, who knows what the agenda is with that? I mean, my experience has been they want you to commit to Alien. They want you to commit to, a UFO as an extraterrestrial craft, and so on and so forth. That's been my experience with people. Henceforth, why I've never been on TV. But that's for a one-off. I mean, they want to probably put you out there and get you out in and out, and that's it. And they want the sensational story to go along with it. Whereas, I guess with a show like Ghost Hunters or Josh Gates or whatever, they want to keep the people in suspense and they want to perpetuate the mystery rather than solve it. They don't want to solve anything. That ends the show. And I think that goes for equal side on the part of the ghost hunters in the states that we've been talking about. I don't honestly think that they're looking for quote unquote answers. I think they're looking to just keep amassing this ambiguous evidence because it's interesting. It's like a soap opera. at least some of the people that I've been able to watch on YouTube, they have 3 and 4 part 5-hour specials. I mean, it's crazy how much they document what they're doing. As painful as it is to watch, there does seem to be places that they go that are interesting, but you'd never know it according to them because they're still after that same tired EVP, ITC, ambiguous stuff. There's really nothing going on that is innovating anything. There's nobody's trying anything new or different. It's always pretty much the same shtick, but kind of repackaged and repurposed for whatever need that you have. And as I said, I think most of these tools that they're using are manufacturing tools to be able to co-create what they're expecting that their audience wants to see. In other words, that's really it. I think most of them think they're made for TV. So there you are.
It'd be interesting if they ever had someone on who seemed to be like you, maybe, or maybe even like me. I don't know. Someone who in some way attracts these various things, or it gets amped up when they're around, but who don't claim to be anything like a psychic or a medium, or they don't have a shtick. They're just a lightning rod. I wonder what would happen, because as you're talking, I'm thinking, and I don't even know if you want to talk about this yet or not, but you reading The Invisibles finally, the Grant Morrison comic, and then having these phenomena happen around you that seem to be related to it, and just that one little thing. I mean, isn't that worth more than any sort of spectrometer or whatever?
Yes, to me it was. I mean, damn. I'd been wanting to read those ever since his disinformation talk, where he talked about the sigil magic stuff, and that's been how many years ago? And every time I would go to Barnes and Noble to look for it, because I know it has to be in some kind of collected volume, because there's all sorts of graphic novels, but none of that. And so I finally went on to the iPad and downloaded the Vertigo app, which, oddly enough, has the collected works of the Invisibles in 4 easy-to-read volumes. And I'm telling you, if you guys are into reading comic books, this is the way to go, because it's not only that you get to read the comic in full color on a digital device, but you get it. You can set it up to read it panel by panel, and the transitions between panels are very interesting and play to the story a lot, which is really neat. I started reading it. I was at work, and I started reading it, and I'm reading through the initial story, and all of a sudden, in walks Alfred Lemberg in the comic in full incomprehensible glory. I'm not kidding. And I mean, personality wise, cadence to the dialogue, the use of the use of unintelligible pages from the Webster's dictionary, and I say that with fondness about him.
I'm sure he's feeling the fondness as he's getting red-faced listening to you.
And it's Alfred Lemberg. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It's Alfred Lemberg. It looks like Alfred Lemberg visually. It sounds like him dialogue-wise. I mean, unbelievable. I was like, this is crazy. I wrote Jeremy immediately. I said, Jeremy, I'm pages into The Invisibles, and Lemberg has made his first appearance in the book. And then I sent Jeremy a couple screen grabs, and he kind of confirmed, yep, that's definitely him. And I thought, really, I mean, I sat back and I thought, synchronicity much? Yeah, that's what's going on here. And I got out of work kind of late on the late side, because I got enthralled with it towards the end of the day, and figured, well, the building closes at 7. I'll sit here till 6:45 and read. And so I read, and when I left, I don't know how else to say this, but that a bird talked to me. I went out.
A bird talked to you.
That's correct. Yes. I went out, and here is a big honking raven sitting right on the tree adjacent to my car, looking at me, staring me down. And I've heard ravens all my life. I live in Maryland, for God's sake. So this one, what's the best way to describe this? This one sounded like it was putting on an act. In other words, it sounded like if you could peel away the facade of the tree, there might be a man behind there with his finger stuck in the beak going, caw, caw, caw. Like it was that fake sounding. It sounded like a person imitating a raven. Does that make any sense? Are you getting a picture here?
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I went, ha! And, he would answer me. And we had this little conversation for about a minute and a half. And he flew away. Gargantuan bird. Very large raven. Beautiful, very jet black, shiny, smooth. It's a beautiful bird. But I got in my car and I thought, again, what a strange thing, right? And so every day when I come home, before I get on the Beltway, I pass I should say that the area I work in is well known in Baltimore and Maryland for being a Jewish community. And so me being a probably borderline atheist Gentile, when I leave there, I pass a cemetery every day. Now, I didn't know it was a Jewish cemetery, but apparently it is. And I've since found from a couple of my coworkers that Jewish people don't really dig cemeteries like others do. There's rarely have I ever passed by there and seen anyone in the cemetery at a grave. No, I have not. Not ever. And I've been working in this place off and on for 12 years. Never have seen anybody at a gravesite in the place, ever, at any time of day. This day, I go by, and I'm stopped at the light in front of the cemetery. It's to my right. I look over. Here's a man standing at a gravesite very close to the road, wearing a black trench coat, a black shirt underneath, black slacks, black shoes, and a red tie. He's bald and he's white. This is, for those who don't know, the epitome of what Grant Morrison, the writer of The Invisibles, looks like. He's bald, he's very white, he's Irish, and he dresses a lot he's a big fan of black. And this guy's just standing there, and he's not staring down at the grave. He's staring dead ahead, not at me per se, but in my general direction. And I just looked there and I thought, really? Really? I mean, all of these synchronistic things happen within the first 2 hours of reading this book. And I was genuinely amazed, and it didn't scare me at all, but it was just like, wow, how amazing is this? I mean, all of these weird things kind of all happening within the first couple hours of cracking this book. Now, keep in mind, I watched Grant Morrison's lecture at Disinfo several times where he talks about what happened when he wrote it. And he had a lot of strange things happen to him when he wrote it. But I wasn't looking for anything. I mean, again, you're talking about paranormal investigators. Do they go out wanting to find or looking or targeting something? I wasn't targeting it. I just wanted to read the book. And all of a sudden, these things just popped into my face for no reason at all. And the minute that interestingly enough, the minute that I recognized them as a synchronicity connected to the book, they stopped happening. They stopped happening. I think I'm on to the third storyline now. I'm starting that. And I haven't really had anything since the first few hours. But when I recognized it as a synchronicity, it's almost like it killed it. So yeah, there was that. Very strange.
Just those three things?
Off the top of my head, there was Lemberg. There was the Raven. Am I forgetting something? I probably am.
Probably not.
I think that was it. Yeah, I think.
I have this weird thing now. Usually it's Carol getting upset with how things are done here in Hawaii. But every now and then, it's me. And when we get upset about how slow things are going, they immediately, like, within the hour, 5 things will happen that speed things along. Or you'll get that call from that person you were just bitching about saying, all right, we're ready to go. Did you sign the contract? We're going to be there tomorrow. And that just happened again today. And it's like, what is that? That can't be a coincidence. And yet I can't even figure out is the link that you're psychically predicting what is going to happen next and it's coming through you as a frustration. And if you just wait a minute, or if you never voice the frustration, do they never call you?
Right.
Guess we'll never know. But things like that, those types of links to things. It's just like what just happened, and the listeners won't know this, but you got a knock on your door that we had to stop recording for. I got a phone call we had to stop recording for, and people never come to your door, and no one ever calls me, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like when I start this recording, it's almost like it's a magnet for attracting the phone call, And when I'm on the phone, like I could not get a call all day, but the minute that I get a call, that's when someone else will call it. Boop, the call waiting. It's almost like one call transpires in attracting another call.
Yeah.
Which Terrence McKenna even brought up in one of his talks at one point. So I don't know. I mean, again, was me reading the comic book, my point in wanting to read it was hearing his talk. So did I attract the synchronicities by, subconsciously remembering that and knowing that that was why I wanted to read these books? What is it about this comic that's so interesting? It's an inexplicably weird comic book. I will say that. Very nonlinear, but not horribly hard to follow. Very good. I mean, really interesting bunch. But, and I'm sure there were other little synchronistic things that happened, but I just, again, the numbers are still happening. The triple digit numbers, predominantly 1111 or 333. I think that might have happened a couple times during the book reading as well. But interestingly enough, for my birthday, my wife ordered food for us, and she said she brings over her iPad and she says, "Look at the order number, 333." I still can't figure out what that is all about.
Well, is any of it about anything, or is it what you put into it? It's like the thing that's objectively true is that it's happening, and then you want there to be a meaning. But like even again today, we decided to, instead of getting a lawnmower, get like a real like subcompact tractor with a lawnmower attachment.
Right.
And as I'm jotting, and we've talked about this ad nauseum for the past couple of days, but I'm finally going to make the phone call to the woman. And as I'm jotting down like the model number on the Post-it note, I had complete deja vu. And the deja vu was, I dreamed exactly this moment in 2012. I remember I was living in the Ohana, in that, the little sort of guest room in that person's house when I first, moved here. It was the second place I lived. I remember where I was when I had the dream. It very clearly was, I dreamed exactly this moment. For some reason, I'm on the phone. I didn't know Carol at that time, but I'm on the phone with Carol, and I'm taking this down. And you want that to mean something. Like, does that mean that we're on the right path and we should be doing this? Well, sure. Or it could be a warning not to, because I don't remember what came next in the dream.
Right. Right. I always think the same exact thing as well. I mean, I really do. And by the way, just as a side note, I don't think any of our listeners will ever recognize the hilarity that was you moving to Hawaii. When you first got there, I remember that place.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, just as a side note, I didn't think Jeremy was going to survive. Like, I really thought he was going to die because he lived in a house, I don't know, with no windows. It was horrifying. I mean, truly horrifying.
That's just Hawaii, folks. That's just Hawaii.
Right.
Who needs windows?
Right. Right. What was there? Was there a bird or something that would come in and nest with you or something? What was that?
No, there was a cat.
Oh, a cat.
And it would first scratch at the door, and then I would ignore it, and then it would jump on the screen because, like you said, I didn't have windows. It would just attach itself to the screen and just, and I'd let it in.
Right.
And this would be at like 5 a.m. or something. It would come in, it would make a little nest, do its little paws, and I was on an air mattress on this, this upper floor with a ladder.
In a loft. Yeah.
And I was afraid it was going to pop the mattress. It never did. It would sleep for a couple of minutes, then it would leave.
Yeah.
Or it would just whine until I let it out.
And I kept asking Jeremy, what kind of abode is this that you're living in? And I'll never forget when he said, I don't know, I think it's kind of like an open air shed. I was like, congratulations, you're a lawnmower.
Yes.
I mean, wow. Ugh.
Yeah, there's that.
Amazing. But yeah, I mean, I guess you do want it to mean something. It's just, it's starting to get to the point where, I'm making lunch at work and I'm standing in the kitchen with my stuff in the microwave and the microwave's off and I turn and I look at my watch and it's 3:33 and I'm getting to the point where I'm going, really? People are looking at me weird. Like, what's the matter? Well, it's 3:33. Well, what does that mean? And then I show them my cell phone where I've captured every time I've looked at my phone to check the time, and it's been some amalgamation of consistent digits. I don't know what it means. But and somebody brought up a good point to me the other day. Is it at the point now where I have kind of a mental alarm clock going on? At the beginning, it certainly seemed random, but now it's like, is it kind of like a mental alarm clock that I look at my watch at a certain time because, somehow, I don't know, the body clock says, look at your watch and it'll be 3:33. I mean, I don't know. I guess it could be that, but damn it seems really frequent, like all the time. And not just 3:33, but all sorts of triple digit numbers.
Right. Well, and you also had something else happen to you recently. Yeah.
So I'm, and this wasn't part of it. This is the weird thing is I kind of, I'd say for about the past month or so. I don't think we've done a show in a month. It's been a month or more, right?
Yeah.
Something that Jeremy had said on a previous, it may have been in the last taping that we did. Where he said, you want to know these things and you kind of go about the motions of trying to track this thing, and then when it pops its head up, you kind of back away from it. And so I realized, yeah, that's pretty true, and I'm not really going to get anywhere with this unless I stop doing that. And so about the past month, I sat down again with the notes to try and come up with some kind of plan to enact some sort of measured response from the phenomena, whether it be, a light on the ceiling to something more. I mean, something less subjective. And just to see what would happen. And there's also kind of a narrative that's going along with this that's kind of in tandem with writing the book. I'm kind of revisiting thoughts and things that I've thought over the years and events that have happened that I documented that I'm kind of reading through and kind of reliving to a certain degree. So there's kind of a narrative going on here that is kind of forcing me into that kind of headspace again. And one thing I realized is, number one, that the headspace isn't fear and it's not doom. Right now, it's kind of one of being uber intrigued with the whole thing and kind of regaining my curiosity about it. Because after a while, 30 years now, you kind of become somewhat jaded to news in the field. And I mean, news in the field to me is like the furthest thing away from my mind right now. It's like I don't even pay attention to most of the field unless it's something I see on Facebook. It's trying to get myself kind of reignited with it after being poisoned with the stupid stuff for far too long. And so I've kind of sat down and I've written down kind of a step-by-step, here's what you can do and here's what might work. And And it doesn't really, I guess some of it requires some kind of marginality and anti-structural behavior, but it always has. I'm that way anyway, so I don't have to really do anything for that. And one of the things that has kind of come out of this, and I'll go over what Jeremy mentioned in a second, but what kind of erupted out of this is some sort of there are sounds that are going forth more so than anything visual. We've had voices in the house before, but it's been a while. And since I've kind of started poking this a little bit more and becoming more engaged with it lately, we're getting the voices in the house again. Lisa and I sat on the couch the other night and audibly heard someone walking down the steps when no one was there. But as a byproduct of this, it was Saturday. We tore up the carpet in the dining room. We're going to put down hardwood floors. So we pulled the carpet up. We got it rolled out. We got the place cleaned, the floor cleaned, ready to accept this hardwood planking. And so the downstairs was, to call it a disarray would be an understatement. You know, the china cupboards in the living room and in way of the TV. And it's a real disaster. And so the next morning we're going to get up and we're going to go to Home Depot and get the wood and start getting it done so we can finish it by tomorrow afternoon, Sunday afternoon. So Lisa went to bed. I came up sometime later. I explained this to Jeremy that I not in recent memory of my life have I ever been able to go to sleep with no nightlight on. Some kind of light source must be visible. I must be able to see the room to a certain degree. Sleeping in pitch black is not an option for me. Lisa does not have a problem with this. And by the way, she hasn't heard this yet because I haven't told her. So, honey, when you're listening to this after you upload it, surprise, the shades in the room were pulled down and the nightlight was not on and the door was mostly closed. And so when I came upstairs, I kind of used my cell phone as a light so as not to wake her up while I plug in the nightlight. And when I opened the door and shone my light inside, something scurried from about the back midpoint of the room into the left corner. And it scurried, and it was relatively short. Color, I don't know. It was just, because my phone has kind of a blue tinge to the light, it was kind of blue tinged, but I couldn't tell you what it was. Not really any noise, but whatever it was moving too fast to be just running to the corner of the room. This was like somebody bolting down a street.
So it looked like a person?
I could say, I could say that.
It wasn't a rat or
it wasn't a rat. No. It was at least 5 foot tall. Thereabouts. It was tall. It was taller than the monitor on the table. So, and it was moving at considerable speed for the direction that it was running because it would have run right into the wall. So it clearly wasn't stopping at the wall is the point. I said, okay, well, and that led me into a whole kind of interesting thought about this. And again, this is you can take this as a well, duh, Jeff, but I'm talking about something a little bit deeper than what it appears I'm saying. So bear with me with that. That darkness for this stuff is like a petri dish, a really good petri dish. Whereas to me, like the broad daylight in the middle of the afternoon is okay and weird stuff can happen, sure. But I think that the fertile petri dish is really night in blackness, inside or outside, in pitch black darkness. There seems to be something, at least around here, where that becomes a necessary thing to be in, a la having one stand beside the bed that night just staring at us was just coincidentally a night where I didn't have a nightlight on and the room was by and large pitch black. The only light that was really visible that night was from the next door neighbor's lawn light ever so slightly shining into the room, just enough to make out the most minute details, or the smallest of hints of things. Now, Lisa, from her vantage point, would have had whatever was standing there backed up against the window, which would have given her a much more solid view than it would have me that night. But she was sound asleep. A Saturday night, she was sound asleep, and this thing made no noise at all. So what was that? I have no idea. But it's led me into a thinking that darkness may be a prerequisite for something that has to run. If that makes any sense, something that becomes more tangibly there. That fading away is not an option for it at that point. Like it's in the room enough that it has to, if you can say physically, run to be gone from the place. This goes into a whole discussion about, why do people ghost hunt in the dark? Where did that come from? Why does that seem to be a commonality? Is that what it is? Is there some connection between the absence of light? And the more I thought about it today and the more I pondered that, the more I thought, well, night is between days. It's but then again, days are between nights. So what does that mean? That seems like a dead end. But if you count daylight as, a time when it's not there, then the between time between darkness and light would be that, a pitch black in the middle of nowhere type of feeling to it.
Well, isn't the thing that's the between you? Because when you're in pitch black and you're awake,
right.
Your senses are that much, more turned off, clearly sight,
right.
And other things are amped up. And also maybe even the hunter-predator thing kicks in, and that even
absolutely
further hones your senses, or Yeah. And so maybe darkness makes you more acutely aware of these things, yes. But I'm starting to think that it's a distinct possibility that darkness may be a more fertile petri dish for this stuff than your average daylight time. Or even, 7 o'clock with the lights on in your living room, 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night with the lights on in your living room. No, maybe not so much then, but if those lights were turned off and you sat in pitch black for an hour, what would you see? And again, this ties into, also sensory deprivation and what are people perceiving in that place? Is that truly, again, it comes back to perception and what is hallucination and what is, a trick of the mind, or the mind trying to make things up so that the senses have something to sense. I don't know. This the other night was, being as I was in light previously and came up with a light in my hand. I don't think I can relegate this one to sensory deprivation because I wasn't deprived, but for a couple split seconds. But yeah, that was a thought that crossed my mind, and I thought maybe this is worth exploring in the context of, the steps that I'm taking to kind of elicit a response. So maybe darkness is something too that I'm going to have to, pull my pants up and deal with. At 50 years old, should you be worried about dark? Really? Well,
no.
But then the second that you pull your pants up and deal with it, it's gonna go boogada boogada boo.
Right?
Are you sure? Are you sure you want to do that?
Right.
And
exactly.
I don't know what that's about, because I'm feeling that with this move, and even just things like my telephone. I used this Text Now service because it's $18.99 a month. So basically, the phone works on your high-speed internet unless that's down, and then it tries to catch a Sprint signal. So,
okay.
Then it'll switch over to Sprint. So mostly I'm on my internet, which is not that good because it's Aloha broadband, which is like a dish that is on my roof that beams to an antenna that is sort of near here, except that it has to go through these windbreaker trees, and so when it's windy, it's really bad.
Okay.
Now, thankfully, they're going to be fixing this within the year, so that shouldn't be a problem. But right now, my signal is it fluctuates quite a bit, and so my phone is I know is just bad from that. Okay, so even knowing that my phone is bad from that, every conversation I have, at least with Carol, the phone only seems to go dead or when one of us is making the main point of the conversation. And then you got to go, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. And then you'll hear that part of it. You'll always hear the peripheral part of, I didn't hear you. What did you say? And then you're like, well, that's crystal clear. But the rest of it is a garbled mess. And it's every freaking time. And I look at that, and I look at all the trickstery stuff.
I speak as a man married 25 years, and when I say this, you don't want to have that fixed.
Is she listening to this part too?
Whoops. Sorry, honey.
Right. So I look at this, and I look at all this trickstery stuff happening around the move and happening around us, and I don't know. I like my initial sense of it was the "Are you sure?" It's like, "Are you sure? You know, do you really trust each other? Is this really what you want to do?" You know, but then the more it happens, the more it's almost like it's trying to break you up, or it's trying to get you to move out or to go back to normal. It's like it's almost like it wants you to go back to your former sense of normality.
Right.
But then I'm thinking, well, is it even that? I mean, is it just a function of like you move and things break up, the signals get all mixed up in life, and so things just go haywire for a while until they, you know, reconnect, and then there's your new sense of normal. I don't know, but I just think like that whole thing of "Are you sure?" It feels like there's an intelligence pressing on you, you know, and it's mean and it's cruel. But I don't know that that's really the case, or not, or if we're just making it that way because it's annoying. Like, is it trying to be annoying, or is it just plain annoying and it's not even trying? I mean, what is the deeper thing here? Or is there no deeper thing? Is it just like synchronicities where it's like, well, whatever meaning you put into it is the meaning you get out of it. The objective thing is that it's happening, and it's happening to everybody.
Right. I think the thing that, and I don't know that this is any sort of answer, but I think what I go back to is every magical practice book that I've ever read has said something along the lines of, if you're not familiar with this type of practice, and you're going to put these things into motion, and you're going to try this as a way of life or an interest of some sort, be prepared to be tested. And this was usually a short chapter in the beginning of the book that would say something along the lines of, you may notice synchronicities, you may notice very strange things happening. And before your workings will begin to take some sort of effect, or you'll begin to notice some sort of change in your life or the world, you will be tested. You will be put to the test by forces we don't understand to see how bad you want it. In other words, it's testing you to see how bad do you really want this? Because this is a major commitment. You know, this kind of getting into this practice of being a Wiccan or a hoodoo or whatever. This is a way of life. This isn't playtime, kid. This is the real deal. And really, I mean, I noticed things when I tried a couple of different weirdo things in the way of Wiccan things, and I looked into, in particular, the voodoo and hoodoo practices, you know, from down south, and African practices, which, you know, according to George Hansen, is the key to everything. And this stuff is the African magical practice stuff. And all of it says the same thing. You will be tested. You will be put through the trials to see if you are worthy enough to stick with it. And not to bring up a subject that everybody knows that I'm infinitely stuck on, but Star Wars, you know, Luke tells Yoda, I won't quit. I'm not afraid. What is Yoda's answer, Jeremy?
You will be.
Right, exactly.
And what's funny is I was going to say that line no matter what the setup was.
Right.
Honestly, I had that ready to go.
So there it is. And I think that's what you're getting is, it's not so much are you sure, it's are you worthy of this? How much are you willing to take to prove that you're actually doing this? Like you're really going to step off the leap or take the leap of faith and say, I'm doing this and hell or high water, this is it. I mean, it's same thing. Well, we had a long list of weird stuff that happened and surrounded the time before the marriage ceremony was due to take place. And and I believe that every great change in changing who you are as a person or what you do in life, I think when you're making those preparations and you're actually change your life. I mean, those words can't be said with any more importance than that.
And let me just point out now that
that you're going to be tested.
That you're breaking up.
Oh, okay. Well, there you are. And that's the point. I'm sure that was clear.
Yes.
But interestingly enough, I think it was Jeremy sent me a text. Was it a text? I'm looking at my text right now. Okay, I found it. It was, in fact, a Facebook post some 5 hours ago from now, which it's 11:54 p.m.
According to my clock, it's 5:55.
Right. Well,
dun, dun,
you live on the backside of the world. But a lady at work had a death in her family. We were talking about it, and I laughed because she's an African American lady. And I said, what time do I show up to the funeral? And she laughed. She goes, oh, yeah, that'd be good. I said, well, I'm assuming I'd probably be the only white person in the place. I said, so maybe, being as I'll be the only white guy there, maybe I should sing. And she said, yeah. And she started laughing. And I said, go tell it on the mountain. And that's been like the running joke for days. Today, 5 hours ago, Jeremy added 6 new photos to his Facebook account and said, go tell it on the mountain. And I just looked at it and I said, really? So there's that.
That's awesome.
And that's verifiable. I could literally get a notarized note from her telling you, we've been singing this as a joke for days. Go tell it on the mountain. And there you are. Go tell it on the mountain. That's rather obscure, wouldn't you say?
That's pretty obscure, yeah.
Yes, that is obscure. So the synchronicities are flying about. And they don't normally a synchronicity for me will be something really mundane and dumb. And these things that are happening now are a whole nother level of synchronicity to me. So obviously I'm kicking dirt off something. I'm getting little bits of mud falling around the place, but nothing I can hold up and go, here, look at this and look at what happened here and this, that, and the other. I'm trying to get some kind of basket around these instances to be able to document them in some kind of meaningful way that isn't visual and maybe isn't or maybe could be visual but won't rely so much on the visual to make it seem like this is a solid piece. Like I don't want lights in the air and ghostly forms on tape. That's not what I'm after. Maybe something that documents a synchronicity or documents maybe something moving in the house, but it doesn't have to be quite so sci-fi-ish to be important. I'm just looking for documentation of something that remains subtle as it is. Nothing overblown. I think that's the place to start with this. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
I gotta say, since moving here, I've been a little bit more doing letting the meditation thing go, meditation energy, out on the lanai at night. And it struck me last night as I was letting this thing do its work that it doesn't seem to care. It seems to be neutral. So there's no difference as far as trickster or amping up because you've moved or in love or any of that stuff.
Right.
Completely indifferent. So what is that? I wonder. I will say, not last night, but probably last week, I saw a light, a little, as I was meditating. So it was basically walking me back and forth the length of this rather lengthy lanai. And at one point in the distance, so it would be, pastures over, I saw this little red light, and I thought, well, that could be on a house or something. And then it walked me over to the other side, which looks at a little garden area and trees right there in front of me. And there was the little red light. And it just looked like a tiny, didn't look like a ball. It looked like a star. It had that sort of star quality to it. But it was tiny. I mean, it was just right there.
Yeah.
And then it winked out. And those are the only 2 times I saw this. And I was like, what is that? And then I thought, I don't know. I thought it looked like the ground was so white, and where the trees were so white, it looked like you could step through to Narnia. Like, this is going to be a portal.
Right.
But the more I'm out there at twilight, the more I think, no, when it gets dark and your eyes start to adjust, the ground and things start to look white for some reason. And where there are flowers, it looks even whiter. So I can sort of wrap my head around a real reason for that. But the red light, nevertheless, I can't. And then yesterday, I think I've talked about this on other shows that we've done, but the one sort of confounding thing that this energy does, because, it does these exercises and things that are healthy, and then it does things that I don't get at all. Like, what is this? Such as walking a line between 2 walls. It'll just walk back and forth. It'll, press my forehead up against a wall and spin me around, or press my finger against a wall and, and go back and forth between these 2 walls. Like, it's creating some sort of energy line. And it started doing this between, we've got this grill and this table. And so it started walking me between the grill and the table and sort of just creating this energy line or whatever the hell it's doing. And while it was doing that, at one point I stopped at the table and just stared, and I was just staring, and first it was cross-eyed, and then it was not cross-eyed. And it looked for a second like a sliver of the atmosphere, almost like a fingernail-shaped sliver of the atmosphere, but about the size of a head, ripped open. Not like, I shouldn't say ripped open, but just sort of tore that much of it. Not like it came... Not like somebody ripped it. I don't know if this is making sense, but just a sliver just sort of ripped open in the atmosphere. And then it started wafting. Like we've talked about static, seeing static in corners and things like that.
Yes.
That's the way the atmosphere was getting. It was starting to bubble and get staticky. And I kept waiting to see ghosts or something. I kept waiting for everything to change, and nothing came of it. It just eventually stopped. And I guess, I could say, okay, rods and cones, except for that slit. That really seemed like an invisible person being seen for a millionth of a second. Just sort of the outline of a part of their head. Yeah,
it's a hump in the air. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it was hump in the air, but it was the
exactly
side. It wasn't the top. It was like the side.
Right. Yeah.
Very odd.
Yes. And by the way,
in the air, not like it would have been like where a papaya tree is, hovering in the air is where it would be if it were an actual person or something.
Right. Not on a wall or reflected on a window or anything like that. It's not. It's free formed. It's free floating. The little star-like light. We see that in the backyard. We saw that in the backyard. Yes. And at first, when Lisa first saw it, she called me out. The dogs and her were out in the backyard. Usually happens on somewhat moonlit nights for the most part. Although the moon doesn't have to be shining in the backyard to be that. I mean, it could be behind trees and whatnot. It doesn't seem to matter then. But it usually happens on moonlit nights, and it's usually down near the ground. Now, the first time that she saw it, she came and got me, and she said, "I think someone threw a cigarette in the woods." And when I went out there, I look and I see what looks like a small red scintilla on towards the ground, but not quite on the ground. And it's twinkling like a star. It's spiky light. And I walked over to it. And when I walk over to it, it disappears. When you back away from it, it's there. Which again put me in mind of Ted Phillips and Marley Woods. That's exactly what he said they experienced there, which is some big, bright, bold light in the distance, maybe less than a quarter mile away. They get on ATVs, they ride out to it, they see nothing. The person standing back at vantage point A says, it's right in front of you, you're right beside it, and they can see nothing. This seems to be like something like that, but on a much smaller scale. And I have seen the star-like light in white, literally between me and another guy when we were hunting one morning in Hereford, Maryland. I looked down on the ground and saw a small star-like object that seemed, for all intent and purposes, to be on the ground. And I dug at the dirt and dug a hole between us, and you could not put your hands on it. It was still there. You could cover it over with your hand, but to dig down and try and move it, it wasn't on the ground. It was somewhere else. And we both saw it. And as the sun rose, it slowly faded away. What is that? I have no idea. No clue at all. But it's a very interesting thing to have her standing back, no more than 15 feet, 20 feet away. And as I walk to it, I lose it completely. I don't see it at all. Even when I get down at eye level and stand back up and position myself all sorts of different ways in close proximity to where it should be, I don't see it. Lisa never loses sight of it. And vice versa. We both did it at the same time. And she said, this is really strange. What is it? I said, I have no idea, but I'll bet you'll never be able to touch it. And neither of us have ever been able to figure out what that is. But it sounds eerily similar to what you're talking about.
Well, maybe if I have the gumption, I'll walk over to it next time and see what happens.
Just do. Yeah, I guarantee it won't be there. I don't know what these phantom lights are, but they are definitely there. I mean, and if I could get some kind of really low light camera, I bet you I could get a picture of one. Because they're that stationary and consistent. They're not just there for seconds and disappear. These are on the order of an hour or more in the same spot. So I don't know what to make of that. Maybe it's puckwudgies in the woods. I don't know.
Menahune here. And on one more note of interest, maybe, I don't know. My friend JP told me that here in South Point, down at the point, someone is trying to build, that's right, a UFO landing pad.
Oh, geez.
So there's that. And I said, are you sure it's not Puna? Because I knew that they had built this, one faction of the Hawaiian sovereignty movement had built some sort of UFO welcome strip. No, this is another one. A little closer to home. Like, huh.
Well, I don't think I've ever asked you, what is the, are there frequent sightings in Hawaii? I mean, in and around Hawaii, and who investigates them there?
There are. I don't know who investigates them. I don't even know. I mean, I would be surprised to find out that until recently, things were considered to be "quote unquote" UFOs or alien, because people, have seen fireballs and night marcher ghosts, I guess you would say, or Menahune,
right,
little people, forever. So, I think only probably with modern Westerners does it become aliens.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know.
I'd be curious what the sighting frequency is in Hawaii, and I'm not talking like lights in the sky and whatnot, but like how many people really perceive solid craft, quote unquote craft, of one kind or another in Hawaii? I wonder. Like, what's the frequency of daylight sightings in Hawaii? I wonder. That's an area that you really don't I mean, even if you pay some attention to something as lowly as filer's files, that's something that you rarely see in filer's files is anything in Hawaii.
Well, there was somebody who was hoaxing a bunch of stuff on YouTube for a while last year or the year before, and was finally outed. So I don't know. Other than that, I haven't. It's weird because this place attracts people who, like I think I've told you, people here listen to Coast AM like it's the freaking news, like it's NPR.
Right.
So you would think that it's attracting people. It attracts people who believe they can call them in, but I don't know that it's actually attracting people who are seeing anything that you would say, well, that's a craft. Because I do hear things about lights, and that light couldn't possibly have been anything else, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
But I don't hear a whole lot about craft, except potentially from my neighbor, who you just reminded me I still need to interview. Because he has seen something at South Point, and then his wife had said, well, NASA tests the parachutes for the Mars rovers. He said, I know what I saw. It was an object. It was a disc, right. That sort of thing.
Huh.
But South Point, here's the other thing is like, okay, so I live near Greensand Beach, right? And, as a former guest on The Experience told me, who was familiar, you don't go to Greensand Beach at night. All locals know this. And I told this to a friend just the other day, actually, and he was like, well, that's funny you should say that, because my friend who is Hawaiian, who's lived here obviously his whole life, had a story for when he went to Greensand Beach with his mom, and they slept over, and they were like sleeping over in their car, and like a ghost warrior started shaking the back of the car, just like materialized and started shaking the back of the car. Like he has this story from childhood. So there are things like that where people, unlike the ghost hunters, it's taboo to go there. Like you don't go there at night. You just don't do it because you're going to see something. It's not you run toward it because you're going to see something.
Huh. Taboo being another thing that George Hansen talks a lot about, which is interesting. Huh.
Taboo is a big thing here. They call it kapu. It's Kapu. And, and it means, well, for us Howleys, it means this is sacred space, so you're not allowed to walk here unless you're Hawaiian. But it's a big thing, kapu. This is kapu. It's kapu to go there at night. It's, and I mean, there was a whole Hawaiian system that was based on taboos. And
what is the reason that you don't go to Greensand Beach at night? Do you know what the reason is why you don't go there at night? I mean, is it just that, ghost warriors appear there and don't like it, or is there a bigger reason?
No, I think it's all kinds of stuff. I think it's a paranormal hotspot. And it seems to be, negative.
Now, see, I wonder.
So I guess he had told me, or somebody had told me that it was, that was where they, after some big battle, that was where they were dumping the bodies. Okay.
See, I wonder if like, say, for instance, you probably know a lot of native Hawaiian people there just by living there now for how many years. But like if you went there and you saw something and it was in your face, hair-raising experience, right? Like say you and Carol go down there on the beach and you fall asleep and you wake up and it's the middle of the night and there's guys standing around you and they're poking you with, warrior sticks or whatever. And you go running in abject terror. If you told a local about that, like there was somebody you called Ma for a while, I remember you talking about, like if you told her about something like that, would they automatically say to you, well, you need to be cleansed? Do you need to go talk to so-and-so? Or like, have you heard about anything like that? That if you're involved in a sighting like that, or you experience something like that, is there steps you have to take to kind of get it off of you?
Only if it follows you home. Actually, my barber Bob, was doing that for people. He was sort of, I guess, exercising people, for lack of a better term. So they would have situations like that where they would see a ghost and this ghost would follow them home, and they'd have this poltergeist activity, so he would have to sort of cleanse the place or whatever. Right. But it's only if that. Now what I find interesting is Ma from Ma's Kava, her real name is Clara, so Auntie Clara, she's she's heavily Christian,
Huh.
but deeply Hawaiian, obviously Hawaiian. And so it's interesting that even the deeply Christian Hawaiians, if you were to talk about this stuff, they would know exactly what you're talking about, and they would talk about it as if you were talking to a non-Christian.
Huh.
There wouldn't necessarily be just pray, just go pray to Jesus, answer to it.
Right.
Or don't get involved in that because, that's bad and Jesus is good. It's kind of like, no, this is a fact of life in Hawaii, and here's how you deal with it. Plus, I love Jesus.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, as part of what I've been trying to get into here lately, some of what I've been reading is the way cultures have dealt throughout history with, I mean, this, and I think people maybe don't know this, or maybe they do. Maybe this is a given in this field, but I don't think a lot of people realize that, 50 years to 100 years ago, if you'd have talked about some of the things that we talked about on this show, either one of two things would happen. You get locked up as a crazy person, or you'd be taken to some kind of spiritual center where they would cleanse you of this thing. They would get this off of you. And it was something, even if a wife was widowed and saw her husband in the middle of the night, and she went out and talked to people saying, I saw my husband. He came to me last night in my room, and he told me he's okay. And that see that right there, when you really think about how sacred death is, and that would be a taboo thing to say. In other words, you don't talk about such things in public because he's dead, and that's the way things are, and you need to move on. Bringing him up and saying he was there, that's a taboo thing to begin with. So there's that. But these people would then, in whatever culture you exist in, whether it's something that requires a witch doctor or a medicine man to whatever the Hawaiian equivalent is, to, Puritanic American. I mean, right there, you would be taken somewhere to be clean of this experience. And part of what a lot of these cultures believe is that, like you said, follows you home. There's some kind of attachment where when you see the dead, you're walking with the dead. In other words, it's not about them coming to you. You're going to them. You're walking in their shoes, which is a very interesting dynamic when you look at across culture. When he's talking about like European countries, they feel the dead comes to them. The dead confronts them. Whereas here with Native Americans and other places like South American cultures, they see it as you're walking in the footsteps of the dead. And so therefore you have to reaffirm that you are of the living to cleanse yourself of that. So in other words, they act like it's a glue that sticks to you, that you bring part about like as a carrier of death.
Well, in a
at
way,
that point.
Okay, so with Night Marchers here, which can either look like ghost warrior people or can,
Or
like Bob
lights.
has seen them and seen them as orbs, that he interpreted as torches. But the thing that
Right.
you do, I mean, essentially prostrate yourself. It's like you're supposed to like strip off all your clothes and lie down naked. That's what you're supposed to do if you see them, or else they're coming home with you, or they're going to be upset.
Right.
It's like you've got to do these things of respect. So in that way, it is kind of like here, it's like, yeah, you happened upon them. They're just out there doing what they do, just like a tribe of people would. And if you
You're
stumble
walking.
into them, you've got to do this thing to show respect.
And it's almost like in a lot of cultures, the way it's not said this way. This is my interpretation of how they seem to treat the person who talks about this experience that they've had or what they ran into in the middle of the night and had some hard tale to tell, is that you've got some kind of ick on you. And we have to remove that ick from you before you can be reintegrated into our living society again. That's how they view this. And so they view it as some kind of cleansing. And interestingly enough, you always hear how, well, the witch doctor makes you drink some potion that's supposed to get the ick off of you from the dead, or they make you eat something that this is not a culture-bound thing, that the eating and drinking. That is across every culture, in everything that is involved in cleansing you after some encounter with the less than normal. And all of these things, whether it would be even some weird things seen in the sky, was seen as the dead, which plays nicely into Whitley Strieber's hand of late. It's the dead, whether you roll into it or whether it comes to you, either way, the eating of something or the drinking of something, oftentimes that are repulsive and foul tasting, are a reaffirmation that you are alive. The dead can't taste. The one thing I read said something about, that some people in South American cultures, when they encounter a ghost, when they go to eat, they take no pleasure from their food because it feels like it turns to ash in their mouth. And so to eat this foul substance or to drink this foul tasting drink, ghastly tasting stuff, it reaffirms that you are in fact alive. You can taste, and now this is being cleansed from you. And the very act of eating or drinking something is an affirmation of life. Smoking of something is an affirmation of life. So all of these things seem to lead me back into the whole thing of you, me, and Colin Andrews on a Skype call, feeling the air change, and then getting the ick on us for a number of days after that was all over. Because you and I both had strange things happen for some days after that interview. And I don't necessarily think it was Colin or you or me. It was the discussion we were having. We were talking about, admittedly, some taboo subjects, and going very deep with those subjects in the nature of perception and synchronicity and all of these things. So we kind of almost collectively conjured something to happen in the rooms, because we all experienced that bristling air, and then had something odd happen. Now, what would have happened had we got up and had some, I don't know, spiritual teacher who knows this stuff to say, here, Jeremy, drink this and eat this, and these things will stop. This is what I believe. This is why these cultures did this. This wasn't done for no reason. You get what I see? This is the part that I don't get in the history books. They don't say why this happens. They just say this is the custom for when you experience something out of the norm. But the reason that they did this is because if they didn't, it affects other people. It infects the tribe, or the group or the township or whatever it is. It must be stopped. It must be eradicated. And so therefore there's this ceremony that has to happen to put you back in a sense of normality to your life.
It sounds like, what we were talking about before is this phenomenon being attracted to you via the darkness, via sensory deprivation, which is actually in some other sense, certain sensory heightening. And what this is sensory heightening for the thing that you know. So that's sensory heightening for the unknown, and this is sensory heightening for the thing that you know. A taste, a smell, surrounded by people. It's a ritual with people. So it's affirming that you're alive. It's affirming that you're normal and you're okay, because your senses are working like normal. But it's using the same thing. It's using these same sort of sensory heightening techniques, but in reverse. It's just instead of them being in service to the unknown or the dark, it's in service to the known. It's closing the door is what it's doing. And here's the cherry on top to this whole thing. And when you read these different accounts of how different cultures respond to the unknown thing that may have happened here or there, the interesting thing is that what is said to the person is, and you have to do a little bit of, smoothing of the words here. But in essence, what is said by the witch doctor, the preacher, the whatever, is go live your life, get up tomorrow morning and eat a good breakfast and then go to work and enjoy your day and spend time with your family. And it's all of these things that drop you back into that mode of routine.
which we know routine is kind of a killer for paranormal events to manifest in. You need that anti-structural thing. And again, this holds true. I mean, you can watch this spider web unfold when you are either listening to me and what I'm telling you, or when you read across these different books and you look on the internet and you see what different people report and culturally. But here's the thing. You might say, well, how does it infect other people? How does it attach itself to one person and then manifest in other people's lives within the community? And the answer is that one person has a wife or a brother or a mother or a dad. They say, what happened? And they recount that story. And the very retelling of the account or retelling of the story hardens that memory and then instigates the interest possibly of the other person. And so they begin to ponder your experience to the point where either they go to the place you should not have gone, or they attract the phenomena by virtue of your interest and believing you and knowing you're a solid person, Jeremy Vaney. You're a solid guy. This happened to you. Now I want to know why it happened to you, and I want to know exactly what you experienced. There's only one way for that to happen. It's for it to show itself to you. And the next thing you know, the whole family is somehow in this, because the very act of trying to figure out what happened to Jeremy Vaney puts that person in a state of anti-structure, which leaves the door open for more and more and more. And it's like a drum beat. It just booms, it bumps to each person in the family. Next thing you know, it's spreading through the community. This is what I believe happens without these rituals that go on. And so this brings me back to the point is, what happens in our culture? Because we don't have that. And what happens to the paranormal fields? What happens to paranormal groups? As George has said, they never seem to last very long. Why? Well, because people fall out of favor. They get in arguments. They fight over things. And when they step back from them, they figure out these things don't really mean anything. But it's already too late. The group is disbanded. Now, what would happen, as I told George when I had him on I think I had him on Waypoint one time, and I told him the one group that I had done some stuff with many years ago here in Maryland, one of the things that the guy required you to do after you left any haunted investigation or any haunted site or allegedly haunted site was everybody go to Denny's and we all sit down and eat. 4:00 in the morning, whatever, get a grand slam, and everybody sits down and eat and talks. And rarely was the discussion about ghosts or what we had seen. It was about work. It was about family, this, that, and the other. And that group actually held together for as long as I was around. I don't know whatever happened to any of them, but now, was it just the act of sitting down as a group community and eating and talking and drinking? Did that reaffirm life after we had walked into a place where allegedly, again, the dead walk, it's got the stench of paranormal activity on it? Is that what that's about? Did he know something then? Or was that just part of his, let's keep the group tight and friendly and more family-like? I don't know. But George seemed to think that was a good idea.
Yeah.
So
well, then
there's a thought for some of you would-be ghost hunters out there who have small groups that are thinking about doing something.
the other thing is it a fail-safe to have not just failed groups, but also shallow people invade the field and the research not be taken seriously? Is it a fail-safe to keep a sense of normalcy? Like we always talk about that it's a paranormal escape hatch, but maybe it's our own escape hatch.
Well, yeah, it could be. Yeah.
The other option is that the paranormal, even if it does give a dangling carrot to everyone, it doesn't expect everyone to take it. It's suddenly very echoey in here. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Hello? Wow.
Yep.
Why is there an echo in my house all of a sudden? Has there been an echo this whole time?
No.
There hasn't, right? I haven't moved. Echo. What the Why is there an echo in my house?
Because I'm getting deep, bro. I'm getting deep.
All right. Well, let me just throw. Clearly, I've got to go or something. But that's why is that happening? Why is this happening? That's freaky. There shouldn't be. Okay. So what was I saying? Am I just going to talk like nothing's happening? Like there's not...
Yeah, that's right.
Are you hearing that or no?
Yeah, I definitely hear it, yeah.
That's weird. I want to set this... I wonder if I set this microphone to parabolic, if you can hear it even better. Is that better? Can you hear that even louder or no?
No, it sounds more clear now. It sounds less echoey.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll keep it on that anyway then. So what I was going to say, I don't remember. Oh, Jesus. Maybe if I take these headphones off. No, it's just as echoey. Why would there be an echo in here all of a sudden?
I don't know.
Did space move? Like what causes an echo?
Maybe so. Maybe you're about to be swallowed because I just gave you the answer to everything.
Isn't lack of objects what creates an echo? Like where did... I don't know why that's freaking me out so much. I mean, could it have been echoing this whole time and I'm just now noticing it?
Maybe the Warriors left. They were all surrounding you and now they've left the building.
I guess so. All right. Okay, so the other option then could be that I'm just going to pretend it's not echoing in here. It could be that the phenomena itself likes a certain amount of people to latch onto it and dig in through the muckety muck of nonsense. And that's why, for instance, it would take a hold of something like crop circle phenomena and start having the hoaxers do something deep. Because even though 99.9% of people are going to go, oh, well, those are hoaxers, so they're just lying about this too, there's going to be somebody who gets it, and that's the person that the phenomena wants.
And it lays in right. It's like a puzzle piece that fits so perfect, but it's a marginal piece.
And so maybe it's that way with all this stuff now too, with ghosts and all that. So these people, essentially the beautiful people that you talked about, are going to be used by the phenomena itself to attract the one or two people who are going to get it and then enter that hero's journey and be scared, like Yoda said.
I think, and the one girl comes to mind in particular. I mentioned that she kind of fishes for replies, which, on one hand you could say, well, maybe there's not enough attention going on there or maybe something else. But there's something else with this person that is really interesting to watch over the course of, months. And that is how frequently they are at odds with someone else in the field of like popularity or of like stature or of like looks. Pretty people don't fight ugly people because ugly people already lose, right? So, but it's obvious. And when I look at it, I so badly want to say to her, don't you see what's going on? Do you not understand why you are always steeped in drama of one kind or another in this field? And it's always people in this field. It's never anybody else. It's always someone in this field disrespecting or coming at them with accusations or whatever. I mean, and it seems to be fairly regular with this person. And I so desperately want to say to her, don't you get it that this very field fosters and creates those kinds of situations that allow that to happen in order for more to happen? I mean, I think without trying to be directly disrespectful, I think she's incredibly marginal. I think that I think you couldn't ask for a better person to have paranormal phenomena manifest around. I think ultimately, just by the way that this person carries herself, I think she would likely not be believed were there to be some really powerful experience to happen. I think it would be easily, for the skeptic, easily dismissed, what isn't to them. But even more so in this case. But again, it's almost constantly at odds with somebody over something. There's always some kind of dust up, maybe at least 1 or 2 times a month, to the point where you're like, really, again already? It's and it's usually over something not ghost related. It's usually over something someone said to someone, and you realize just how amorphous these arguments seem to be. And not to pot kettle black, but you and I have had our fair share of entanglements with people that don't seem to make a lot of sense. Biedny being one big one, that just didn't seem to make any sense at all. Looking back on it now, but there have been other people that we just wonder, how did it get to this level? How did it get disgusting? How did it get to be this bad? And I look at this stuff now and I go, well, this is all to be expected. And it's a lot less irritating. It's a lot less to occupy your mind with when you just know to expect it. And when it shows up, it's almost less, this again. It's more like, wow, there it is again in record time, right on schedule. You find fascination in it than you do irritation. So, that's just something to think about. If you prepare yourself in knowing that it's going to come when it finally does, out of nowhere, for no reason, you're in total expectation of it. So there you are.
There you are. Well, perhaps that's where we should leave it.
Yeah.
In my echo chamber.
All right, people. Enjoy your week. Until next time.
Until next month. Enjoy your week.
Yeah, I'm sure we won't be a month, but kindly visit us at paranormalwaypoint.com. Is gone, by the way. You can visit us at paratopia.com or paratopia.oculus.com now, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, we're so professional.
Jesus, who are we? So we've
I
got
don't know.
paratopia.net and we've got paratopiaoculus.com.
.com, that's right.
Okay.
So you can find us at either spot. And in the coming months, I'm just going to tease this out right now, Jeremy. We're going to be having some blogs going on there. We're going to expand the site a little bit, and we're going to give the reins to some listeners to kind of put their thoughts down on the blog. And maybe at some point, even in the not so distant future, we're going to be able to, be able to facilitate any of you coming on and either talking to Jeremy or I or both of us together and making it kind of like your show, like you're directing the show, not us. Something like that as a little bonus thing that might be coming up soon. So we do want to expand the site. We do want to make it more interactive and see where that goes and where that might take us. So keep an eye out for those things. Once again, paratopiaoculus.com and paratopia.net. Both will take you to the same place.
Very good. And hopefully on the next episode, I will be able to give you a huge announcement about events coming up in November. All I'm going to say is November 5th and 6th, mark them on your calendar, make your way to the Big Island. I know.
Yeah, because that's easy.
I know you're thinking, that's probably expensive. Well, tough. Get here.
Make it happen, people.
All right.
I'm not going, so don't worry.
No, I know. Well, no, that's why all these synchronicities have started happening between you and me, is because we're opening a portal from Maryland to Hawaii, so you can just step through and you don't have to get on a plane. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
It's what happens to you in between while you're in the portal that's the problem.
That's where you get probed, yeah. I'm not looking forward to that.
You get molecularly rearranged and put back together every time like a
You
shaman.
get cosmically molested is what you get. All right, Jeremy.
But worth it. All right. Sweet dreams, America.
Good night, everybody. Bye.